Okay, so really quickly, I'm gonna try to put my headphones on. Okay, there we go. Let me fix my laptop and put it here. Um, I needed to get some thoughts out because, um, so I just went to get something from the front yard and it was my Amazon delivery, like subscribe and save. And the song Pink Pony Club was playing, so I need to figure out how to deactivate whatever thing is making my little Echo device basically um, play music randomly out of nowhere because I know I set that up to do that, but I just don't remember how to fix it because I don't want it to do that. But I really wanted to come on camera, so um, it just got me thinking. So I didn't know what the song Pink Pony Club was about. The girl's a really good singer too, Chaperone. I never paid attention to her before. Hold on, my dog is like, Bonnie, what are you doing, baby? Bonnie, stop, please. My dog has this affinity for pushing the food bowl um, towards the wall or something. I don't know why she's doing that, but she keeps doing it and I don't know how to fix it. Anyways, in other news, so the song Pink Pony Club was coming on, and I didn't know what that was about. So apparently it's about Chaperone growing up in her very, I don't know if it's a rural area, but her very, I don't know if it's conservative, but basically she never felt like she fit in because she identified as LGBTQ or queer, or she was gay or lesbian or whatever. And I want to say that respectfully. I shouldn't say whatever because there are people who do identify with that group. Except one second. My dog, I'm going to bring my computer with me because my dog is pushing a bowl. Excuse me, we're not doing that. No, thank you. We're not doing that. We don't push the bowl like that against the wall. You have to eat the food like normal. I don't know why she's doing that. But I wanted to come on camera because it just triggered this thought in my mind. Um, so yeah, so Pink Pony Club. I didn't know what the song was about until I heard it, and I was like, I give her so much credit because number one, she's basically bitch slapping her parents, not bitch slapping, but she's bitch slapping all the people who basically, I don't know, judged her or, she's basically stepping into her power and embracing herself and her, her sexuality and whatnot. And I can almost relate, not in the sense that, because I'm not gay or bi or whatnot, but I decided, I wanted to explore sex and embrace my sexuality too. So, yeah, and with that, it made me think of, I don't know, women empowering women. I don't know why. It just literally, like, made me think of something because I don't know. It literally got me thinking of how, like, as women, because I've recorded several videos and I literally today I was just talking about the divine feminine and basically like how what it means to be a divine feminine, what it means to be a divine masculine. You'll notice that I'm recording because I did like back-to-back recordings, and yeah, and I feel like, so here's the thing, and here's so something really interesting is like I mentioned I was naming these women who I considered to be divine feminines, and like basically women who exude and like imbue this very quiet, understated elegance, or like I would say chaperone. I mean, I don't know too much about her. I don't know. I can't say that. I wouldn't say she's a divine feminine. I don't know. I would need to like watch it more and assess her to see like if she actually in her performance. I do give her credit though. Like Lola Young, I give her credit for stepping in. Oh, you know who's a divine feminine? The girl who sings that song. Oh my God, what's her name? Is her name Paris Paloma? She sings a song about labor, like every day, mother, that takes balls to put out a song like that because she's basically like disavowing and trying to encourage women to be like feminists essentially and standing in their power because of like reproductive rights. Like the fact I was realizing recently that the fact that we have men making decisions over like women's reproductive rights is baffling. It's crazy. But really what I wanted to come on here and say is I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but like I don't know if this is going to turn into like a Mean Girls, not a commentary on Mean Girls, but it's twofold. So I heard that song, it made me think about like how women, I know it's meant in the sense to be like this anthem for the LGBTQIA queer community, which rightly so. I totally condone, like, woohoo, you know, like, I don't discriminate. If I, you know, I might, just to shake things up, put like a rainbow pride flag out in my hair. Just to really, I'm straight, but I just, you know, I don't know. I feel like I should, like, just, because this is, I don't know if I'm in a very conservative community. I wondered if I moved to a really conservative, because you wonder when you talk about liberalism and conservative, people that are conservative probably don't, are very probably anti that. But anyways, I don't want to stir the pot or cause trouble in that community, because people, unfortunately, we live in a society now that if you have differing views, people will poison you, belittle you, chastise you, discriminate against you, defame your name, assassinate your character, all of the above. So, or shoot you, or, you know, if they have road rage, they might get a gun and shoot you. God forbid. That never happens to me. But I was just thinking, I heard that song, and it made me think of a few things. Mean girls, like girls being mean, and I've been on the receiving end of this. Like, I've been on the receiving end in terms of, like, unfortunately suffering through workplace, I don't know what it's called, workplace mobbing, or workplace, I don't know what the term is, but I've been the girl who has been belittled and bullied at work, at jobs. Honestly, I think it's because I was always labeled like the good girl. I didn't really talk about sex too much. I didn't really go out drinking. I never went to strip clubs. I never talked about male genitalia in the workplace, or someone's penis or dick or this or that. Like, I've heard the word dick so many times thrown around in a workplace, it's embarrassing. And I just was there to work. So naturally, I would have sometimes feel uncomfortable. But one thing I've noticed as I've grown into myself and chosen myself and not felt bad about being who I am, right? Stepping into that divine feminine energy, I've noticed that I was more reticent and reluctant to speak up for myself, you know, growing up. But one thing I will say is that as an adult now, as women, it's interesting, because I thought about it with the Pink Pony Club song. I've done videos where I said I was mentioning divine feminines like Gal Gadot, oh my god, Amal Clooney, like people, and it has nothing to do with stature or status or being affluent. It's just more so like, I don't know, like you carry yourself with this sense of propriety and decorum and grace that, like, I don't know, is so rare, right? Because when you think of some people, some especially in Hollywood these days, and like you think of musicians, some people, I think they sell out their soul. And what I mean by that is, like, they'll use sex to sell, and maybe they like it, you know. Some people, maybe that's the mode, they want to promote sex and stuff. But like a woman who is a divine feminine, I guess this will be like a tag along from another video I did, will not do that. And I think more divine feminines, especially now when we talk about like mean girls and stuff like that, I find that almost perfect example, like, I don't know if it's, well, maybe it's, I don't know, I'll mention it after. You rarely hear anymore about women celebrating other women. What do I mean by that? Like, women celebrating each other's successes and their wins. Usually we live in this very dog society, like a very self-serving, hedonistic society, where in the sense that I'm the kind of person where I will literally, there was a job that I took for like a week and I loved it. I absolutely loved the job. Like, I was like, this is so right up my alley. It was basically like selling tutoring services, or trying to align a prospective customer or client with a tutor, and I was going to be the initial sales consultant to try to speak on the phone to basically initiate the process to get them to meet with the senior sales consultant to secure the tutoring arrangement or coordination, right? And then what happened was, a little bit later on, basically it turned into a competition where you had to compete against your cohort, or the people that you were training with. And I was just like, there were other women. There were a few men, I think, in there. I don't know. Yeah, there was like one or two. There was one guy who was really good at it, at like phone sales and phone etiquette. I was like, man, I was like, kudos to that guy. It was so easy, whatever. And then there were other women in that group. And I noticed that it became more about like the, the accumulation of the sales or the transfers. Like we had to document and put in our Microsoft Teams, oh, we got one sale, this, and this, or whatever. And I was more focused on like forging the relationship with a client or a customer than more so the competitive aspect of the job, because and what's funny is that I've noticed about me, I'm the team, like the cheerleader, like the team spirit leader, you know, like I'm the kind of person that I want to champion other people and empower them, right? So whenever someone got a win, they got a, you know, they'd type it into things, oh, I got a transfer, and then they would keep tally of how many transfers someone got. And I almost felt like, for me, because I'm not someone who's super boastful, I don't like to, like, I don't know, I don't like to boast about myself. And there was some guy that I kind of connected with and dated, I don't even cancel, like, dated, we connected or whatever, and he mentioned that you can say humble brag, so I'm gonna say a humble brag. And I would be the type of person where I was celebrating those women getting those, like, things, and I noticed it became very competitive. And even like when I said, oh, I got mine, maybe one person who was the moderator of the chat, who was the preceptor or the trainer, they liked my thing. So it's interesting. I feel like as women, and I don't mean this in a romantic sense, and again, I want to preface, I don't identify as LGBTQ, gay, bi, anything like that, and I respect people who are, because love is love, right? But I don't mean it in the romantic sense. I mean that women championing and admiring other women from a respect and, like, veneration sense, meaning, like, we need to, as women, champion other women. Like, if I see another woman succeed, I'm not going to go, oh man, how can I knock her off her pedestal? What can I do? Because I've literally been on the receiving end where I was basically conspired against and pretty much almost lost a job. I didn't lose it. I take it back. I resigned from a position that I was at when I worked back in Miami, Florida, and for a hospital that was very reputable and that I basically grew within. And basically my work ethic, my skills and abilities, my clinical skills and abilities were basically questioned. And it's really sad because this was done at the behest of two individuals or women that it's funny because before I met them, I thought that they were, like, because their pictures were on the website, I thought that they were so cool. And they don't know this. I didn't tell them this. Because one of the girls had really blonde hair and it was, like, really wavy. She looked like basically like a girl that you would see from California. Or, like, one of the girls, like, from Utah. You know, that, like, perfect blonde hair and, like, pretty blue eyes. And the other girl was, I think they were friends or whatever. And I was just like, and I never got jealous of them. I always was like, I admired their friendship because they were very good friends. But they kind of decided to gang up on me and, like, you know, basically almost get me fired because they told the supervisor, since my supervisor was out of town, they told the supervisor that was the standing one, right, that I was not excelling or performing, or I did something that was not up to code or standard or something like that, that put a patient's life at risk, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My point is that song just made me realize I was thinking about women and women empowerment, and I go, man, we don't literally, like, we don't, and I just realized I wanted to do a series on Wednesdays we wear pink in honor of Mean Girls, so it's very apropos, so it works out that I'm wearing pink, and it's Wednesday, because in the movie Mean Girls, literally, hi, my dog is giving me these, I'm going to take a picture of you, because you look so cute. Can I take a picture of you? What are you doing? I'm sorry, I'm filming my dog, this is just too cute. She's filming, I'm filming her while I'm filming this. Okay, anyways, she's not amused at all. She's like, I want to go outside, which we will go outside. I said outside and her ears perked up. Anyways, so, yes. And it's funny, Pink Pony Club, I'm in pink. I don't belong to the Pink Pony Club, but I support it wholeheartedly. Beep, bop, boop, bop. But what was I saying? So yes, I have dealt with my fair share of not so nice ladies. And it's sad because I'm the kind of person that I've learned to cope with this better, meaning, like, I don't feel as inferior. I used to have this complex where it was like, if I was in the presence of someone that was, like, really pretty, I would be so, like, nervous because I felt like I didn't measure up. Like, I thought that they were so much cooler than me, and usually, more often than not, some of the girls, like, I went to school with, they would use their either looks or attractiveness for popularity, And it's amazing as you grow up into an adult, you see that play out. Like I've dealt with, I don't know, numerous, probably in the past 4 years, numerous occasions in every single place I've worked with. And I'm talking, these are professionals. These are women with master's degrees, bachelor's degrees. You would think they have the emotional and mental wherewithal or emotional capacity to show and demonstrate respect to other people. No. And I'm the kind of person that I don't like to cause conflict. I'm more of like a pacifist. I'm more of like the resolution maker versus like the instigator, right? And if it happens to be that my words end up being the catalyst for instigating something, right? Because I am big on quality improvement. If I see something that could be changed, I will mention it. But that could be a detriment to some corporate organizations because they want to keep things status quo. They want to keep things conventional. And if you have someone come in who's basically a subordinate and they're in an entry-level position, not like mid-level or executive position, like a senior level position, it's almost like imagine if you have someone coming in who's like has maybe a year or two of experience, but their mind, they think macro. I like to say I think macro. And I look, and I not necessarily look for it, it just things happen where I notice things, right? That could be streamlined to be better, to improve workflow processes and things like that. So anyways, things have gotten where I've mentioned things like that to certain people that are coworkers and whatnot, and instead of looking at like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna help you and support you with that, I've gotten the opposite reaction of she's more of a detriment than a benefit, and we have to figure out how to oust her versus keep her, and that's sad. And that's why I left said organizations. Nothing about them, nothing about the leader or anything. It's when you feel like, if I always go by facts and empiricism, and there's always two sides to a story. And what happens is that when there's not necessarily nepotism, but favoritism in certain places and things like that, you are very susceptible or prone or liable to getting the short end of the stick. Because more often than not, if that person has some sort of camaraderie or association or an affinity for other people that they're friends with, and they believe them and they don't go by the facts, yeah. And it's harder too as a woman. I will say, I don't know what it's like in a man's world. I feel like men deal with conflict differently. I feel like women are a lot more catty. We can be, not me, but I've noticed people tend to be passive aggressive. Instead of dealing with a conflict and speaking about it head on, like having honest, open, transparent communication, it turns into a workplace gossip. Oh, I'm going to talk about it over here, and then it's going to spread over here, and then before you know it, you have like a whole cesspool of icky, dirty-ishness. And then to deal with that, it becomes, you have to get everyone together, sit them down in a circle, get them in like a, what's it called? Like not a tell-all, but like a open forum where people can feel like they can talk openly and freely. But anyways, so I don't detract from what I'm saying, but it just made me think of like how as a society we need to champion women more. And then the other thing is, God forbid, I say, oh, what a beautiful woman that is. Someone could go, oh, they can start a rumor and go, oh, she's gay, she's this and that. And I have actually, because when I was in high school, the best friend that I had, because I didn't flirt with boys and stuff, right? This goes along with the whole sexuality thing, right? I was very much a wallflower. I was more reticent. I did not feel comfortable. I wasn't, put it this way, I was not demonstrative with my interests. Like, I liked boys and stuff, but I did not show that. I did not exercise that affection outwardly towards guys. So oftentimes I would be labeled as either the closeted gay woman or the closeted bi girl. I can tell how many times, which let me tell you, at first I was like, I let it get to me and affected me, and now I'm like, fuck it. I really don't I'm like, if you're not my if you're not my boyfriend, if you're not my lover, if you're not my friend, I really don't give a shit what you think. No offense to not to sound like a bitch, but it's true. Because there's that Dr. Seuss quote, those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. Meaning, like, if someone's going to mind your business, they don't really matter. And if they don't mind your business, like, they do matter, right? So for me, I feel like we need to, and I don't know how to do this, I'm just one person, I can't affect change. I'm not going to run for Congress or for City Hall or whatever. I'm not a public civil servant. But if my words do spark some kind of change in something, and you watch this and you're like, man, I can relate to that, because here's the thing. It's like, there's the poem that I have. It's called the Desiderata, where basically it says that there will always be persons less or greater than yourselves. There's always going to be a woman who's going to be like stick thin, and like I have the Adore Me app, and some of the models on there, you're like, man, they're so like proportionate, like their boobs are perfect, and their butts, they have, like, and they're skinny, or the lingerie falls on them the right way. Like, I've bought lingerie and I'm like, man, that doesn't fall on me the way that it looked on her. And I get dejected, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. All bodies are different. All bodies are beautiful. But my point is that as women, we need to champion one another. And I just noticed time and time again that in different workplaces, in different, even residences, even neighbors, like, I not to put down neighbors, but more often than not, maybe once or twice, I'll get like a smile out of somebody. And I'm the kind of person that if I see you, if you cross paths with me and I lock eyes with you, I will smile at you, because I am very big on extending kindness and sincerity, because the world is so icky and mushy and creepy sometimes that a smile can go a long way. A smile can save someone's life. Literally, someone could be in the pits and about ready to take their life, and you smile at them and you give them a time of day, they might refrain from doing that. So for me, I feel like, I don't know why that song sparked that within me, even though it has nothing to do with like it kind of has to do with women's empowerment, but more so embracing, I don't know, I think it's twofold. But for me, I thought about that, and I go, I don't know how we can do that. I don't know what I can start, or something like I don't know, because it's sad to me. And let me tell you, just like I've been on the receiving end, I've been on the doing end, in terms of, I wasn't directly ever mean to someone. There was and shout out if she ever watches this, there was a girl I went to middle school with who, and funny enough, she was labeled as the girl who was the dorky, nerdy animal girl who loved animals, and like was not weird, she wasn't accepted by the Catholic school I went to. So she went to another school called Westminster. And to this day, I look back in like regret and guilt, because I wasn't really popular. I wasn't like, in the popular group of girls. I was more so like, we were just there, like I had my friends or whatever, but like this girl was really picked on, and she wore a back brace. She had scoliosis, really bad case of scoliosis, and she was just brutally picked on. And she's actually, I think this is years ago, when I had reached out to her to try to like reconcile and say I'm sorry, I think I was in college, I was in my undergrad, which I'm going to hurry it up because my dog really wants to go for a walk. She's actually a very, I think, successful speech language pathologist now, which kudos to her. I don't think she'll ever watch this video, but I do feel kind of bad. I still, to this day, I feel guilty the way I treated her. And her mom called my mom and said, Ashley, we thought was going to be one of the few girls that was going to be a friend to her. And because I went to her house, we went, her dad had a boat, and we would go on her boat, and her dad would do fishing, and we would do sleepovers, and her little sister and I would go in their pool. I remember the mom, when I was like homesick and I got nervous sleeping over their house, the mom gave me a glass of milk. They were such good people. And to this day I feel bad, but I can't say I am nice. Like that was the only time I've really ever been mean to any other human being. I treat people very kindly, because I treat people the way I would want to be treated. But really, I've just noticed that there's this trend of I feel like we need to, and you see this in like when you watch awards shows and stuff, or like the Grammys, you do see some artists, they do celebrate other people when they win, and they're like, oh my god, congratulations, like, but then mind you, I can't really speak to that experience because I've never had a camera on me, like zero in on my reaction, and mind you, they literally show little squares, and they have all the artists, like, and I would be so, like, nervous. I would just be, like, smiling, like I don't know what I would do. So, because that's kind of awkward when you think about it, because literally all the attention's on you, right? So, like, but usually sometimes I've seen it where they're like, they don't seem super happy that they didn't win, but I'm the kind of person that we do need to, like, champion other women, because I've been in numerous situations since probably a few years ago where I've had to go from job to, if anyone looks at my LinkedIn, they're going to be like, this girl stays so little. at jobs, and it doesn't look good when you're applying to jobs because it looks like I can't hold a job, which is not the case. I had the job. I was able to hold it. I resigned from it because I wasn't treated well by the girls that I worked with. And that's the truth. And that's what people don't see. And that's why I say when I go job hunting, it's really frustrating. And I put those jobs on my resume because I want people to know I had the job. But once I got the job, it was like mind games. It was, either workplace gossip or just cattiness. And it's silly to me. It's so silly because it's so petty. The world itself, we live in we do live in a dog-eat-dog self-serving society. It's just the way it is. Like if someone, I will say the pageant queens, I will say people who are like Miss Universe or Miss USA and all that, they do that and they're like, oh, and they they cry. But it looks like they hug each other because they're happy for each other. They're like the only group of women that actually seem genuinely invested, that care about the other person's success. But anywhere else, it's like, God forbid someone get promoted. God forbid someone get like when I remember when I worked in, it's a field called child life therapy. It's a very female dominated industry, and I have seen it where people who get accolades or awards, other people don't celebrate that. They're like, why didn't they want to be the one to get that? And it's like, I'm at this point of what are you smelling? What are you smelling? My dog is like putting her nose in the air. I should share this because this is just too cute. I don't know what she's doing. She's like looking and smelling something. What are you looking for? Are you looking at me? What, you want to go out? I think she wants to go. I was gonna say take a shower. I think she wants to go for a walk. Poor dog is probably been waiting, and I'm really hungry. But I don't know. It just sparked my interest in kind of coming on camera, and I don't know who else deals with this problem, but I have, and it's frustrating because I'm a good person. I have a really good heart, and I care a lot about I want everyone to be happy, right? When you work in a workplace, because it shows, literally, evidence shows, like they've done research shows that workplace satisfaction, when employees are satisfied in the workplace, their productivity increases because their sales are better, they meet target goals, just overall morale and satisfaction. When it's higher, their productivity is better, right? Because if you're happy at your job, you're happy at your work, you're more likely to produce better results, right? Because you're driven and you're motivated intrinsically to do the job. So it's like, for me, what's sad is that like I've seen like there's been really wonderful opportunities at different places, at schools, at daycare centers, at hospitals, and I go, women, like, and I've actually dealt with it like really where I almost like it was bad. I'm not going to get too much into detail, but these are sometimes even women who I was living in Virginia, and women that are working professionals, fellow colleagues who thought it better to belittle me or chastise me or bully me for, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, are people put up to this? It was so outlandish and abnormal behavior for what they were maybe in their 30s, late 30s, maybe early 40s, to demonstrate this kind of behavior, that I was like, this can't be normal. It can't be normal. And it felt like living in the Twilight Zone, because I kept going, God, is there like, are you, let me know when the joke is over, because, I'm waiting here, because I do treat people with the utmost respect. And that's for anybody. I remember I was going to probably China buffet like a few weeks ago, and there were these two girls here in town. They were sitting in their car, and something told me, I think they work at the beverage mart. I don't know why. They weren't in the beverage mart, but they were outside of it in a car, just talking, and I made eye contact with them through the windshield, and I smiled at them. I smiled at them very kindly and cordially, and they smiled back. I was appreciative of that. And I will say, some people here in the North, I think, in the North Country, right, you may seem like a weirdo for smiling at someone, which is really sad, because think about it, like, all it is a smile, right? When you turn a frown upside down, you smile. And you would think that people wouldn't take that as an affront or an assault or anything like that, right? Not like a direct assault, but like they would think of it like, oh, that's a kind thing to do. Because if you're spreading kindness, to me, if someone smiled at me, it would warm my heart, even if it's just something so simple, or if someone holds the door open or whatever, it's like, it's a novelty to me. Um, but more so, I just think in these days now more than ever, women, and it's not like if you, and it's sad because it's like if you say, oh, what a beautiful woman that is, or, you know, what, um, I don't know, like if you ogle, not ogle, um, I don't know, you compliment someone else, automatically people label you and they're like, oh, she must be this and that. And it's like, no, you're kind. And people misconstrue that now. Well, I think, I'll put it this way. I think people who are immature demonstrate that. Um, but normal people with good hearts and sound minds and good consciences wouldn't think that. But I wanted to, it is apropos that I'm wearing pink, because I wrote in my notes what I said when I wanted to create a YouTube channel. I said, I want to, I wanted to do a segment on Wednesdays we wear pink. So, in honor of Mean Girls. And let me tell you, everyone's going to experience it. Just, unfortunately, high schools, this is why I tell myself I'd want to homeschool. If I ever had a child, I'd want to homeschool him or her, because it could be really unforgiving. You look at all the teenagers and the suicide rates and school shootings and things like that, and you wonder just like the mental health of some children, and what is the root cause of that, like what's the catalyst for the reason why they act out in anger, right? Because like there has to be a reason. No one just goes into a school with like a AK-47 and starts shooting random children, innocent kids, and kids, women, men, teachers. So I feel like, and I'm not trying to glorify Mean Girls. When I wear pink, because it really is a counterculture. Like Mean Girls really created this, like when you say, to this day when I hear, you go Glen Coco, or like, what's the thing, I don't know, there's so many like iconic lines from that movie. It became a Broadway show, right? Tina Fey wrote it, she created the Broadway show. So, I just feel like everyone's going to experience bullying, hatred, that and all that stuff. I just feel like this is specific for women. Like, we need to, like, uplift each other instead of put each other down. And I know that sounds like a very feminist, like, yay, pro-feminism thing, but it's true, though. Instead of, like, looking at people and going, oh, she's so pretty, she's so this, she has, like, how many times, oh my gosh, where I'm the kind of person, I scroll through Instagram and I see these couples put their engagement things on the website or whatever, and like their baby photos, like when they got pregnant, or like they show the ring, and then when they're engaged, or when the baby's born, they have like the sonogram thing, and it's really cute. And some women would see that and be like, man, they'd feel inadequate because they're like, I'm not at that point in my life. I'm the kind of person, if I see that, I'm like, what a beautiful thing that is, that they're at that milestone in their life, but other people see it differently. And that also takes a certain level of maturity, because I do feel like I'm an old soul, and I view the world differently than most people. But I do feel like we do need to, like, we need to get our shit together when it comes to, like, women championing women. And if a woman says, oh, what beautiful eyes, it doesn't make her a lesbian or gay. Because I literally have dealt with that. Like, one of my best friends, because we hung out all the time, the kids that I went to high school with, they were like, oh, look at the two lesbian friends. I'm like, she's my friend. I'm like, that's my best friend. I'm like, I don't plan on making out with her. I'm friends with her, and it's sad that that's a very infantile, immature, those were boys that were in high school, they were band kids, they were, and they also probably lacked social, like, customs, like they didn't probably know how to act around me, or maybe around her. So oftentimes when boys get like nervous, they act stupid or immature, right? And they pick on girls. That's just like a known thing. But anyways, my point of coming on here is just I really wanted to, if anything, shed light on the fact that as women, we need to empower other women. We need to champion each other, not bring each other down, because we're stronger in numbers together versus like being in separate, like, divisive units, right? Like, I will say, yes, we have people, some women, just like men, can have differing views and beliefs and things like that, but when you come together in cohesion and you work like cohesively, it's so much better, and it's like it's sad. To me, it's sad. a good example would be like, let's say someone's divorced and they remarry someone else, right? Let's say, okay, for example, let's say a guy gets divorced, right? And he has a child or two children or something with someone, a true, like a divine feminine, a mature woman, not a Karen, right? Would say, because they'd respect the fact that it didn't work out between them two. The, the, the divorcee, the one that would treat the new wife or whatever, new girlfriend with respect, right? They wouldn't go and try to undermine and be like, I'm going to ruin this woman's life. There's a reason why the relationship didn't work out for whatever reason. Hopefully no one was disloyal. But I'm just giving a general example of what it means to like a woman to empower other women. I have seen stories where co-parenting between two parents like has been really successful. I think a good depiction of that, I think, was it Gwyneth Paltrow? I don't know if Chris Martin. I just remember her saying something about co-parenting with Chris Martin, their kids or something. I think Chris Martin was, I don't know if he's with Dakota Johnson anymore, but that's from what I last remember in terms of Hollywood gossip and whatnot. But a true, like a mature woman, like let's say, would say, hey, I respect and vice versa. Like they'd work together cohesively and they'd say, hey, you're my ex-husband's new girlfriend or new wife, I respect you, and they wouldn't do anything to undermine that. That's, I think, what a true divine, and respectfully, vice versa, the new girlfriend or wife would respect the ex-wife, right? I mean, and that's a tricky situation, right? Because it's like you shared a husband or whatever. It's just, it's weird. I don't know. I've never been in that situation. I've never dated. I have been with, like, I've matched with guys that were, separated or divorced or whatever, allegedly, who knows, on dating apps, but I've never actually gone where it's gotten anything serious and like I had to meet the other lady or whatever. Like, I don't know, I don't know if I'm ever gonna have to deal with that. I would hope I wouldn't. It would be, I don't know, because I always feel like I wouldn't be able to hold a candle to the person. If they had kids, I wouldn't be able to ever live up to the reputation that the original, like their mom had versus like being a stepmom. So, because I have respect for people. Like I look at it like that's the OG mom. I'm the second mom. If that ever happens. But I'm just trying to give a prime example of what it means to be like a true divine feminine, to be a woman who empowers another woman, doesn't belittle them and bring them down, because we need that in society. Because I feel like we're failing a little bit in that respect, and I do see like when there's like award shows and stuff, and you have like the red carpet correspondents, and they're like, hey, Taylor Swift is walking down, look, and then you have the one girl on the side, it's like, oh my god, I totally love her outfit, it's like totally giving like whatever vibes, whatever, I don't know. They do, I think they do celebrate, like there's some women who do celebrate other women, but more often than not, in not Hollywood world, in real world where, people have like the 9-to-5 jobs, and, I'm not saying Hollywood is not the real world, it's just that it's very exclusive and I think a bubble, because it's a bubble of affluence, it's a bubble of like socialites, elites, and it's different, having everyday commoner, the plebeians of society, we have to deal with, like, we go to the 9-to-5 job, you have the workplace gossip, you sit in an office cubicle, and maybe some celebrities had that life before, but I'm not trying to talk about Hollywood. I'm trying to mention what it's like to live now, in the modern day age as a woman. So I do feel like if you're someone who's gone through the experience, maybe if you do watch this video, maybe share about it. I don't really have my email on there, but it would be nice to connect with people who maybe have had a shared experience like that, because unfortunately bullying is very prevalent, and for another woman to bully another woman, and I'm sure men it happens too, but I feel like it's more prevalent between women, and navigating that can be tricky, because you don't want to be someone who acts out and, overtly and says something mean or like demeaning, right? Because two wrongs don't make a right, and you can't fight fire with fire. So having tact, TACT, having tact and propriety when it comes to that, I think is important, because like, I don't know, I just feel like we owe it to ourselves. And it's also like, I remember I did a presentation once with another child specialist who I had so much respect for. This girl was a brain, she's so smart, and very well accomplished, you know, and I never looked at her. One thing I have this problem, I do tend to put people on a pedestal, especially people in positions of authority, because I'm like, oh, they know so much, they have so much experience. But this girl was so smart, and I felt so lucky and privileged that I was able to like do a presentation with her. I felt so cool, you know, to this day. But now, you know, I don't know what she's up to now. I haven't really talked to her that much, but that was another time in my life. But anyways, my point is that I've said this in interviews for jobs, if there's someone that knows more than me, I'm not, like, if they're really well accomplished and they're very well venerated and respected in an office environment, hospital, whatever, I'm going to be the type of person that I want to sit next to them to learn from them, right? Because they're in that position for a reason, especially if they're a woman. I want to, like, when I worked in a hospital, there was an occupational therapist who, she knew a lot. Like, this woman was very well respected again, and like a veteran, basically like a very reputable occupational therapist, which I wasn't too well received by her in the beginning when I went on this specific unit, but I took it upon myself. I humbled myself, and I said, I told her, I was like, yes, I'm new, but I want to learn from you. And mind you, she made it hard for me. She basically almost booted me from the unit, which was my assigned unit back. This was like several years ago, like 2016, 2017, and but I told her, I lowered my defenses, and I tried to put myself in her shoes and her perspective. And she was actually right about some things. I was like, damn. I was like, man, I need to study up on on the unit, the population that I'm serving, right? So, but anyways, I ended up like talking to her one-on-one, and I said, I really, like, I'm new here, but I'm really eager to like learn. And I want to be the best child life specialist, but maybe let me explain my scope of practice to you and delineate my role of like what exactly it is that I do, so I can differentiate between like the clinical services that you provide versus the ones that I provide, like psychosocially. So with that, we were able to come together, and we actually like co-treated, we collaborated on things, and she would refer patients to me, and I feel very blessed because I didn't come from it like, oh my god, she's being such a bitch and she's trying to get me fired. You know, I took it like, you know what? Let me humble myself and learn from her, because she's probably seeing things that I didn't witness before as a novel child life specialist, or novice child life specialist. And I actually grew, right? I was able to handle this. I basically exercised conflict resolution without even realizing it, which is it's an important skill when you work in any field. So my point in saying that is that if you're ever in a situation and you feel like, number one, I don't condone bullying ever. Workplace gossip is disgusting, it's toxic, it's gross. I've literally resigned from positions because of that, and you can tell yourself, my dog just like plopped on the floor. You can tell yourself, oh, stick with it, see it through, settle in. Honestly, I'm that kind of person. I don't know if one should do that, because, you know, your mental health, your well-being, you're at work a lot more than, and I know I'm mentioning it because the majority of the bullying that I've gone through happened in the workplace, or maybe in like a school, not so much college, but more like middle school, high school, things like that. We owe it to ourselves, because life is really short. You know, when you think about, I'm 33, right? So I literally maybe have what, like, if I'm lucky, God forbid, knock on wood, right, that no one decides to like murder me, you know, in my sleep, because I literally have been there where I felt like my safety was compromised, and I felt like I was maybe poisoned by some people. And I'm not kidding when I say this. I legitimately mean this when I say that I think I was, and I can't believe I'm saying it like with a smile on my face while wearing pink, but hey, you know, they say new levels, new devils, and there is a quote that says, touch not my anointed, you know. So but I'm 33, so what, if I lived another 50 years, I'll be, what, 83? You know, maybe a few more years than that. If I live 55 years, you know, I'll be 88. That's gonna go by in a blink of an eye. Life is, the finality, because life is finite, right? We're all gonna have our time where your heart's gonna stop beating. And when you think about it, is it really worth it? Like, if, let's say you're not the one that's on the receiving end. Let's say you're the one that you're on the bullying end, and you're the one doing this to somebody. I recommend that do yourself, like, first of all, just like I mentioned something about, I did a video about social circles and being more discerning about the people, because when you think about it, you're, who you're friends with is a direct reflection of who you are. You know, if they carry the same, do they carry the same morals, values, core beliefs as you? But to take it a step further, if you're somebody that has been on the doing end, and maybe you don't know it, sometimes, you know, I realize sometimes people aren't even aware that they may even be doing that behavior, right? Bullying another person. They just, that just might be their personality, right? It's innate to them. So you have to cut some people some slack. But there is, I have been where I actually, because I'm very big on communication, I do not shy away from difficult conversations, and neither should you. Why? Because life is too short, and you owe it to yourself because you matter. And if someone doesn't see your worth and they're disrespecting that deliberately, I do think if it's in a workplace, or if it's in a relationship worth salvaging, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a coworker, whether it's your boyfriend, whether it's your girlfriend, whatever that be, because you can be disrespected by your mother, father, coworker, brother, lover, whatever. You owe it to yourself to basically, like, you tell them honestly and candidly, hey, you said XYZ to me, and I really don't appreciate it, because I value our friendship. I value the experiences that we've shared, or because we're in a workplace environment, we have to work together, right? I don't think that that's a bad thing. Transparency is key to make anything work in any relationship, any job, any familial relationship or affair. That's key. And when it comes to being mean or mean girls and things like that, I always like to say, give yourself grace, give the other person grace too. Not to say you sit back and you take it and you're like, you're going to be a doormat, because my whole life I was pretty much like a doormat because I never wanted to speak up about anything. But I think you should, people should owe it to themselves, whether you're a man or a woman. If someone's bothering you or hurting you, number one, put yourself in their shoes. But if it gets to the point where it's like, it's hindering your workflow experience, it's impeding upon your ability to be productive, then maybe, yeah, you need to speak up about it. And if it's in a relationship, like an actual, like an interpersonal relationship with somebody, even more so, because work is work, but your personal relationships, those are the ones that are going to get you through really hard times. And if you're lucky, you have a strong support system. So if it's your boyfriend, if it's your husband, if it's your wife, I was going to say mistress. I don't condone infidelity at all. I was going to do another video on that later, but you owe it to yourself to speak up about it, because life is really short, and you don't want to let a day go by where you're just going to like keep it in and not say anything about it, because you matter. And I wish, oh my gosh, I wish I could have told myself that so much earlier. Like, I wish I could have, going back in my life, if I could tell my 9 and 10-year-old self, like, just say fuck it. Like, someone that's like mean to you, like the mean girl, just be like, you're not gonna even know them. Like, I wish I can go back in time and be like, you're not gonna know her. Like, she's not gonna give a shit about you in 10 years. Because I used to care so much about what the other girl thought, and I felt bad about this, and I'm like, bro, they're not gonna give a shit about you in like 10 to 12 years. Like, if you're dead, they're not gonna give a shit. So it's like, you know, I give yourself grace. So, and if you feel like if it's something worth saving with somebody, then talk to them. And if someone's mean to you, and please take this to heart, because I feel like I learned this too late. If someone is mean to you, or you feel like you're the odd man out, or like you're at work and you don't really have anyone to gravitate towards because maybe you're really professional and you focus on your work. If it gets to the point where it's like you can't handle it anymore, then maybe, yeah, speak to those people. But if it's manageable, if it's petty, then keep to yourself, do your thing, and succeed, and focus on the why you're there. You're not there to make friends, you're there to do your job. So I'm going to take my own advice, because I'm not working right now, but maybe I will be, hopefully, in the future, and I might encounter the same thing, because mean girls are everywhere, mean boys are everywhere. There could be mean boys that act like girls. Who knows? You know, I've dealt with that too. I've been in a workplace where the guy, he was gay, and he basically, ganged up with the other girls, and I was the sweet girl Ashley who's never going to speak up and say anything. So You know, usually bullies, what I've come to learn is that bullies pick on people that they know won't speak up. But what happens when the shy girl, the shy sweet girl, finally stands up for herself and speaks her truth? I encourage you to do the same.